It's the Big E Sports Extravaganza.
It's a tradition.
Your weekly destination for all things going on in the sports universe. We don't just talk X's and O's. We go beyond them, bringing you some of the most engaging guests from around the nation. Fasten your seatbelts. It's showtime. Now, here's your hostess with the mostest, Elissa Walker-Campbell.
Elissa Walker-Campbell, welcome back to the Big E Sports Show. Indeed, it is Week 16 in the NFL, and the playoff picture is tightening. Division titles, postseason spots, and January football are all on the line this weekend, and we are getting you set for what matters the most. Joining us now is one of the most respected voices in sports broadcasting, Fox Sports' Chris Myers. Chris is on the call for the Buccaneers-Panthers game this weekend with first place in the NFC South on the line. And he was, incidentally, just here in Houston, calling the Texans' win over the Cardinals. Chris, always a true pleasure to have you back on the program.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be talking to you. I enjoyed my time in Houston and impressed as I was earlier in the year when I saw the Texans. I think they're getting better at the right time as long as they can stay healthy, especially on offense.
Absolutely. Well, listen, you are on the call for the Buccaneers-Panthers and with first place in the NFC South on the line. So why does this matchup feel bigger than just another late season divisional game?
Well, because I think you've got two sides to the story. I think the Buccaneers have won their last 4 straight division titles in the South. And then the Panthers, who I think people thought were a long way off. So the Bucs have struggled lately. They got off to a great start. They're barely hanging in there, and they both are just 500 teams. But the Panthers have somehow surprised to hang in there. I know they're not in the running for a wild card, but it would be an amazing story. They're going to play each other twice in the final 3 games. If somehow the Panthers could win the division from at least where we thought they were, and the criticism and the questioning of Bryce Young, who was chosen, as you know, first ahead of C.J. Stroud, first overall in the draft, and they've yet to really win with him to any great degree. And so it's two sides to the story. The history of the two in the division, the Bucs have held the upper hand. This one will be in Carolina. The last game of the year, that meeting will be in Tampa. But essentially, if the Bucs win 2 of the last 3 games, period, they're going to be the division champ. So from either side of the coin, I know people don't have great respect for the teams who win the NFC South, but they'll still get a home playoff game. So the Bucs look like one of the greater teams to start the year. They've had a lot of injuries. They were disappointing on Thursday Night Football when they lost to Atlanta the previous week. I expect them to come back with a big performance. And you got a couple of really good receivers, Tedero McMillan, rookie receivers, and Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State that plays for the Bucs, and they'll both be on display in this game.
Well, and these are 2 teams that meet twice in a 3-week span. So just how important is this first game in setting the tone for the division?
Yeah, well, that's why if Tampa were to win this game and then win their next game before that final meeting, which would be against they would be playing the Dolphins, who now don't have Tua Tagovailoa as their starting quarterback. So if Tampa just wins the next 2, then they'll wrap up the division. So really, this is a survival game for Carolina. They really need this one. Obviously, they'd have to win their game in between against Seattle and then hope to beat the Bucs at the end. I mean, I guess Carolina could still get in or get the division if they lose this game, but they would need the Bucs to lose to Miami and then to the Carolina Panthers in the last game. So not to confuse people, but right now the Buccaneers have the division or further down the line tiebreaker. So that's the disadvantage for the Panthers.
Fox Sports' Chris Myers, our very special guest on the Big E Sports Show, countdown to kickoff, Week 16, the NFL playoff push. How surprised are you that the NFC South race is perhaps still this wide open here in the month of December?
Yeah, just between, I think most people thought Atlanta would be up there. I don't think that New Orleans and Carolina at the start of the year, they looked like teams that were continuing to rebuild. I'll tell you, the Saints have been with Tyler Shuck, the rookie quarterback, and they've played the Grinch in this for both these teams coming around Christmas by beating, the last couple of the year they beat the Bucs in Tampa, and then they just beat the Panthers to kind of keep that division close, even though they're out of the picture. And so is Atlanta. Atlanta played spoiler beating Tampa Bay. So I just think it's a surprise that Carolina is there. And it's a year of surprises when you look around the Chicago Bears, where they are, and battling Green Bay for the top of that division. Well, the Lions are not at the top of that division. We thought they might be. We figured the Eagles would be the top team, and they are. It's really a one-horse race in what is a bad division in the NFC East. And I think a pleasant surprise is how good the NFC West, other than the Rams, who look like maybe the top team in the NFC at the moment, right? That how good the 49ers have played with their injuries, and how Seattle has emerged with Sam Darnold. So those three teams all look like playoff teams. Now, on the AFC side, Jacksonville has been. We thought they'd turn things around, but they've been an amazing surprise. The Texans are hanging in there. The Colts looked like they were headed towards the playoffs with Daniel Jones. And I don't know if Phillip Rivers will be able to guide them in or not, but that's been one of and the Patriots with Drake May's rapid development to have been on top of the AFC East. And it's not Buffalo. Buffalo will probably make the playoffs. So I think it's been a good year for teams. I think 7 of the 8 division teams are teams that didn't make the playoffs last year, or at least weren't division winners.
Yeah.
They currently hold those spots.
Well, not to digress, but talking about surprises, no bigger surprise than Phillip Rivers' unexpected return.
Yeah, I thought that was just kind of an insurance as a backup. I really didn't think they'd put him out there after 5 years away from the game. He's a terrific quarterback, but it turned out being for insurance, as he talked about getting his union dues back, or his connection with the league to have insurance for all of his children and himself at a very good rate for a few more years. But they did a good job of protecting him with quick passes against a really good Seattle defense, and he gave his team a chance to win the game. And
he did.
We'll see how he does over these final few, but it was. Well, I think it tells you it was a good story, a feel-good story for Phillip Rivers, a very likable guy. Grandfather, actually, he was coaching at a high school team and broke away from that to kind of get back into the game. But I think it tells you something about the quarterback position, about how it just is not as fully developed, how a lot of the young players who've come up now maybe aren't as prepared for what is the pro-style offense. Yes, they have the athletic ability, but even adapting, and they talk about this, to the speed of the game at the NFL level when they come out of college, but also the study habits of how to study film and prepare for complex defenses that you see in the NFL that maybe you don't see as much in college. So if a guy like Phillip Rivers can come back, who knows? And Aaron Rodgers is still playing at the age of 42, and his team right now is barely hanging on as a division leader, and looks like they're going to head into the playoffs unless they stumble in the final few games.
Well, Rivers' return really sparked such an emotional reaction around the league. Just weigh in on what can the Colts realistically expect from him right now?
Yeah, I mean, what we saw in that first appearance was, and they have a pretty good offensive line, and they have Jonathan Taylor to help run the ball. I think it was wise, a conservative offensive game plan. In other words, trying to run quick throws, nothing that would have a guy who's been away 5 years and is not in the best physical shape to stand back there and be a target for a defense like Seattle's that was very good. So whoever they face in the future, that's why they didn't get a lot of points. They had enough points, at least when he left the field. But if you're not scoring 20 points or more, it's tough to win unless you have, the best defense in the league, like the Texans do, by the way, holding teams to under 20 on an average is statistically that most important stat. So I don't know. The way I'm seeing this, despite a great effort, and I thought the Colts, if Daniel Jones was healthy, were going to be a playoff team because they were outscoring teams. This is an adjustment within the team, and I don't know if their defense can handle the strain of a low-scoring conservative offense, at least in the final few games where they need to make up ground. They're not protecting the division now. They're trying to make up ground on Jacksonville and now Houston as well.
Just a few more minutes with Chris Myers from Fox Sports. Let's talk about the Week 15 injury fallout. It certainly reminded us just how quickly the NFL landscape can change when Patrick Mahomes went down, and then, of course, Micah Parsons.
Yeah, it's devastating to, when you're broadcasting these games too, and usually you have an analyst with you who's been down in the trenches and worked his whole life to get to this level. And really it's over, the average is 4 or 5, depending upon the position. So when guys get past 30 and then even 40 when they get to come back. They try to maximize every moment they can, and it's so special to be just to get to the NFL. So when an injury happens like that, especially Green Bay made the bold move to get Micah Parsons and gave up a lot to. They thought that was kind of the tipping point for their defense to make them a Super Bowl team, and I thought it certainly improved them as a team. They're gonna miss him. Even when he didn't get sacks or tackles or pressures, he was double teamed, and it opened it up for the defense to do some other things. So this brings them down a notch, I think, as a Super Bowl team. But obviously they're a playoff team. I think their quarterback Jordan Love has to play better. And then the other side, look, the Chiefs were going to miss the playoffs anyway with a healthy Patrick Mahomes, and I don't blame him for them missing the playoffs before his injury. But for him not to be able to finish out this season after having a decade of them winning division titles and being a Super Bowl threat every year and knocking a lot of good teams out of the way as they had success, the team around him just wasn't as strong this year, and it slowly has been decaying over the last few years, and he's still got the most out of it. But for him and the Chiefs, and really fans of the Chiefs, for their season to kind of end this way, they'll play out the final few games. Gardner Minshew came in. I assume he'll finish out the quarterback position. But they do think that Mahomes, through offseason, already had surgery, will be strong and come back next year with his head coach. And he may not be ready for the start of the season. At least that's the early indication. But he certainly will be back because he's an outstanding talent. But, we all lose as fans when guys like that go down and affect their team, and we don't get to watch them do their thing on big games or playoff games.
We are winding down our time. Fox Sports' Chris Myers, he's going to be on the call for the Panthers, Buccaneers, and I'm a proud Sooner, Chris. We've got to give some love to Baker Mayfield. I mean, it seems like he doesn't always get credit for how he competes. I mean, what do you see from him that perhaps doesn't always show up in the box score?
Well, as an Oklahoma Sooner, covered them back in the college football BCS.
Oh, yeah.
But Boise State pulled the upset.
Oh, no.
Against Adrian Peterson in the Fiesta Bowl of that team, which is shocking. But so, no, Sooner players, well, he had brought that attitude, that Sooner attitude to the NFL. And I called some of his games in Cleveland. He's matured and changed a lot. And he'll be the first to tell you he was very humbled by getting let go and then kind of bouncing around, obviously, the resurgence in his career in that brief moment with the Rams. But when he was playing, it's a little bit of he's over it now. But he was actually in Carolina with Sam Darnold, and they were both kind of released by the Panthers before they went on and drafted Bryce Young. He was actually on a kind of scout team and running on the defense, and he just how low you go, and that kind of matured him in the sense that I got to work harder and do things differently than when I came in as a top pick. And it's made a difference. He really has found a home in Tampa Bay, taken him to the playoffs. Right now, he's playing with the left part of his shoulder. He has a strain in it, the AC joint. And it's, even though it's not his throwing shoulder, it's really affecting his play. And it's not an excuse because he's playing through it. I remember he tried to play for injury with Cleveland, and it worked against him. So he needs the running game with Bucky Irving to do well. But he does have Mike Evans back. I mentioned the young receivers that they have. He's a terrific talent, and he really has taken over the Buccaneer franchise after, after Tom Brady. You go, where are we going to go for a quarterback? They were lucky to find him. He was lucky to find a home, signed an extension on a contract there. He's playing his heart out. He always does. He inspired. He took the blame. I love that he took the blame for that loss against the Falcons a week ago Thursday night and said, don't blame the coach, blame me. I was out there. We had a 28-14 lead. We have to do better as an offense. And I think that shows a lot of responsibility, maturity, accountability is a word they use a lot and throw around. But he speaks it and he backs it up.
The Buccaneers hit the road this Sunday, heading to Charlotte to face the Carolina Panthers at Bank of America Stadium. Kickoff set for 1 o'clock Eastern on Fox. Chris Myers will be on the call. My final question for you is, this is the time of year. It's all about great stories. And we had you on earlier this year to shine the spotlight on your new book, That Deserves a Wow. Where can our listeners go to get a copy of that? And what will they find?
Yeah, thanks for mentioning. Yeah, it's the audiobook actually is doing well. You can go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can order it online. And it's obviously covers a lot of big moments in sports and Super Bowls and World Series, et cetera, but a lot of personal stories. So it's not just for the sports fan in your family or the diehard sports fan. It's for a fan who cares about how people overcome things and deal with things and how people rally around each other. You see that a lot especially on football teams or any sports team. I learned a lot from interviewing and spending time around quite a few of the famous athletes through the years. And I think people will enjoy the book and be moved by it, hopefully. But thanks for mentioning that. I appreciate it.
You bet. Fox Sports' Chris Myers. Always appreciate the insight. Enjoy the call this weekend. Safe travels. Merry Christmas to you and your family. We'll talk again in 2026.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it. You take care.
You bet.